Assalamu alaikum. Today we'll be talking about small scale subsistence farming. The question that you mostly get from this section of your geography is, differentiate between small scale subsistence farming and cash crop farming. They both are different, and one thing that we have to understand first is, in any kind of farming practice, there are three things that are involved: inputs, processes, and outputs. So, in both these farming practices, they differ in these three categories, meaning their outputs are different, their inputs are also different, and they also differ in their processes. Now, what is input? Input is something that you give into the land, meaning it could be the seeds, the manure, fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides, etc. Output is what is obtained from the land. It could be rice, wheat, maize, whatever you have cultivated. And it also includes, meat, milk, and eggs, etc. If you, farmers usually engage animals also on the farm. So the produce that you get from the animals, that's also part of the output. And then processes. What are the processes that a farmer engages in order to cultivate crops on the land? It could be plowing, tilling, preparing the land. Then it could be weeding and threshing, mixing, breeding, and irrigating the land. And all of these are called as processes. Now, since these two farming practices are different, so they're also different in their inputs, processes, and outputs. When you get a question about differentiate between the two, you can highlight these differences. We are doing small scale subsistence farming today, so we'll be talking about small scale subsistence farming. In this farming practice, one important thing that you have to make note of is that this kind of a farming practice is done for the people who are working on the land, meaning they do not produce crops for sale. They are working in order to fill their own stomachs or to fill the needs of their families. The farms are owned by two or more families, and the farms are quite small in size. And the produce is also very limited, so they don't usually sell the produce in the market. If there is an extra or surplus produce, they use that produce to pay off their loans. Okay. Inputs are mostly obtained from the land itself, meaning the seeds used on the land are mostly those that have been obtained from the previous yield. And the farm animals provide for the manure. Okay, for example, cow dung is used as manure on the land. It's a family oriented business, meaning the whole family is involved in working on the farm. The women are also involved. They bring food for their men, and they also prepare animal feed by mixing chaff with pulses and other things. And they also look after these animals. They also, what they do is they mix the chaff with the water and mud, and that mixture is used for making storage rooms for the produce that is obtained. And the cow dung is used as natural manure, and it's also kept in conical shapes, and it's covered with mud. So this kind of activity is mostly done by the women and children. And the animals that are used on the farm are also not purchased. They are actually inherited from their forefathers, and the equipments used on the farms are also very basic. They're not sophisticated, like the sickle and the plow and tractors are not used. So these instruments or the equipments are also family inherited. Then if you talk about water, so they're completely dependent upon nature. If the rain is plentiful, the produce is good. If there are no pests and diseases, then the produce is good, meaning they don't use any pesticides or insecticides or chemicals. Okay. Then mostly they grow multiple crops on the land, meaning once if they have cultivated wheat, and if they when the wheat is harvested in summers, then they prepare the land for cultivating another crop. It could be maize or any other crop, right? And the animals and they make use of animals instead of tractors or sophisticated machines. They make use of animals. Those animals are called as draft animals because they are trained to pull heavy loads. So this is all about small scale subsistence farming. When we talk about cash crop farming, you'll see that these two farming practices, they differ in their inputs, their processes, and their outputs. We have seen the inputs, processes, and outputs of small scale subsistence farming today. Okay.